Good morning. Ty here again. We have another deck profile for you today. This time we are going to go over the deck that I almost entered the webcam tournament with. This is Piedmon and Friends. So the reason I didn't take this deck to the webcam tournament is because I thought purple was going to be one of the most prominent decks there. And I wasn't wrong. Out of my 8 matches, I went up against 4 purple players. Now, all of their deck lists were very different. Purple is one of the colors in the game with the most variety right now in deck lists. So you have a lot of card choices that you can kind of mull over and decide between whenever building your own purple deck. So I'm going to give you mine. We'll start off with the Digitama. 4 Pokemon. It's essential that you play 4 of this card because you need to hit him as early as possible to start getting your combos going. And I have 1 Yaman. Now, I have 5 Digitama in this deck because I think it is very important to have 5 Digitama in this deck. The reason for that is your rookies. This deck is basically a glorified rookie rush deck, so getting as many raising phases as you can is essential. So the star of the deck is Piedmon. This is the only level 6 I'm playing in this deck right now. I go back and forth between adding these cards into this list. And the reason I go back and forth between all of this is because purple has the biggest problem with having dead hands. Like, that's the only way you're going to lose in this deck, is to have cards that sit in your hand and don't do anything for a while. Beelzemon is very bad early game. And Impmon doesn't really do anything by himself. Piedmon, on the other hand, can be dropped mid-game and on, and the recursion that you get from this card will put you in a winning position. In my Leopardmon deck list, I went over how giving your opponent a lot of memory to set up a winning board can be bad, but can also put you in the driver's seat to swing for game next turn if your opponent can't respond to anything. And Piedmon is basically the personification of that strategy. So he is the main boss monster of the deck. I really like him. This is the most aggressive build for purple that exists in the format right now. On to the level 3s, we got 4 Tapir. Tapir is the best rookie. He replaces himself, and he is the only one that you don't really want to Digivolve on top of, because he just gets in there. We got 4 Digimon. The vanilla 2-cost rookies are all very good. Please play them. You won't regret it. 4 Gabumon. This, along with the Pagumons, helps get you into position to drop the Piedmon later on. And this is just your best form of draw power in this deck. I also play 4 Tsukaimon, giving us a total of 16 rookies in this build. If you decide to play the Impmons, I would cut 1 of the Tsukaimon and 2 of the tech choices later on in this list to put in these 3 cards. But that isn't necessary unless you really decide that you want that. The memory gaining from Tsukaimon is really good. Blue always plays 4 of the Gomamon that does the exact same thing as this, so why shouldn't you play this card in purple, especially when all of the point of your deck is to get all of your things deleted. So, those are my 16 level 3s. On to the level 4s, we have 4 of the blockers. For Devimon, he is your spot removal. And 4 Wizardmon. The only real variance in the level 4s you see between the purple list is how many Wizardmon people are playing. I'm putting 4 of this card in this deck because there are yellow cards as well. So you can actually give this card retaliation, and between the 4 Piedmon, the 4 Devimon, and the 4 Wizardmon, you have 12 retaliators, which gives you a great matchup against green because they don't want to swing over your board. Gives you a great matchup against Omnimon because you can just poke it and it dies. And yeah, the draw effect is also really nice, but the level 4s are all super essential and I wouldn't change any of them. So for the level 5s, we have 4 Chimeramon. This is a card that you usually want to have in your hand. Combo with a Tapir, it's spot removal, and you get to draw. And with this card, you can also delete their level 5s that they're trying to stack up to maybe get to a level 6 or an Omnimon. So it's just really nice. This is the card that is going to get you out of losing situations, along with Piedmon and Trump Sword. Those are your best cards to have sit in your hand. Then I have one Skull Greymon because it basically serves as a 5th copy of Chimeramon. A lot of the times you're using it to delete blockers. You want to have this card in your hand all the time. I thought playing a 5th one was the right call. Now, here's those yellow cards I mentioned. We have 3 Magnadramon and 1 Patamon. So these cards allow you to go hard early game because you don't have to worry about your opponent swinging back into you because you have these. If your opponent gets you low in security, you just recover on up and then follow it up with a Piedmon to get your blockers back. Magnadramon has an effect that whenever he attacks, you can also drop a yellow level 3 from your hand, which gives the Patamon more viability. A lot of players don't like this card. They think it has no place in purple, and upon testing, I love it. This card comes up a lot, and it's also just a 4-cost rookie that you can put into play, which gives your Wizardmon retaliation, which is good. And like I said, the recovery is what can help keep you in the game, along with the Piedmons. But, if you wanted to put in the Impmon and the Beelzemon, the 3 cards I would cut would be the Tsukaimon, the Patamon, and one of the Magnadramon. But I don't feel like that adds to your consistency. I feel like these cards make the deck more consistent and gives you a better late game than these cards do. On to the options and Tamers. I have 4 Trump Sword. By far the best card in purple. I wasn't playing 4 of this card, and like I said earlier, purple's biggest weakness is having cards sit dead in your hand. This is the exception. Having this card in your hand makes you feel safe. If your opponent gets something big on the board, it is comparable to Gaia Force, and Gaia Force is the best option we have in the game. So, playing 4 of this really helps. I only have 2 Night Raid. I was playing 4 of this card, but I kept seeing it in opening hands, and I kept seeing multiples of it early game. This card does nothing for you early game. This is a good card to have, but I don't feel like you need more than 2 of it. Even when I cut it from 4 to 3, it was still clumping. And I would just rather have the 2 extra copies be more rookies, so that way I have a better chance of opening a rookie. The 1 memory that it saves you usually does not matter in the grand scheme of things. Having consistency is what's going to win you the games. And so that's why we only have 2 of this. We have 1 Heat Viper, because this card is very powerful. Especially in the set 1.0 meta, this is a very, very powerful card. One of the purple lists in the tournament I was going up against actually ran 3 of it, and it set me back a lot. Hitting Veedramon, hitting blockers off of this card is very good, and comboed with the Tapir, you get to draw. I'm only playing 2 Matt. A lot of purple players play 3 of this card. And again, you don't want to sit on bricks. Instead of paying 4 cost to put this card into play, I would rather pay 4 cost to put a Wizardmon in play, or play a Patamon and recover 1. So this card is necessary, but I think playing more than 2 of it just encourages situations where you have this card sitting in your hand and be dead. And again, since you're playing 4 Trump Swords, one of the cards that you typically want to grab back with mats that I see purple players do is the Trump Sword. And I don't really think that's a good play, because you're advertising to your opponent that you have the Trump Sword, so then they can play around it. But yeah, the card is very good. You need it in a purple list. The trash recursion is good, but it is not worth having more than 2 in the deck. But yeah, that is my purple Piedmon and Friends list. If you notice, I'm not playing Lilithmon, I'm not playing Millenniummon. And like I said, purple has a lot of versatility. But in this specific archetype, the Piedmon Aggro, playing more level 6s just clumps. This is the only one you need in this list. Again, if I was going to add any, I would add this one. But even then, this doesn't feel like the best option in this aggro of a deck. But yeah, that is the deck. Like, comment, subscribe. Do the standard YouTube procedures that every other YouTubist will tell you to do. And hope you guys enjoyed. See you next time.